In Hong Kong, a city known for its bustling economy and vibrant lifestyle, there is an ongoing challenge of social inequality that affects a significant portion of its population: the foreign domestic helpers. According to data.gov.hk, there are approximately 338,000 foreign domestic helpers at the end of the year 2022, which accounts for 4.6% of the total Hong Kong population. Yet, most of us do not notice the inequalities faced by these domestic helpers, a reality that is often overshadowed by the city's glamorous facade. Social inequality involves unideal living conditions, wage inequalities, unequal treatment due to stereotyping and social stigma, limited job mobility and access to social welfare, and more. Although laws may protect them from harassment, abuse, and injustice, helpers may have little to no knowledge about them. Therefore, to have a better understanding, voices from different perspectives should be heard.
I don't see any racism or discrimination towards any particular group of people, including domestic helpers.
會，因為佢哋先生對好似屋企人。
I'm not sure if that is some discriminatory action, like sometimes my friends just make a joke and then pretend their accents, but for me, in my opinion, I don't think it is a discriminatory action.
As we can see, some have a positive view on whether the Hong Kong society is inclusive and believe that helpers are usually treated acceptably. However, some have a different view.
Still different because every people is not the same attitude, so always have different.
多數佢哋呢啲東南亞嗰邊嘅人都係喺香港就係做工人㗎嘛，所以佢哋嗰個階級就好似係呢個種族嘅人就係做工人咁樣。
我覺得唔係啊，因為好多即係喺新聞見到好多工人姐姐俾人虐待嗰啲即係同埋可能佢哋會冇獨立嘅自己一間工人房瞓，所以我覺得唔算係公平對待。
Despite being relatively insignificant, stereotyping, social stigma may still persist, but the problem of harassment and abuse need to be raised and adjusted. In a survey by Mission for Migrant Workers, 15% of 5,023 helpers said that they have been physically abused and 2% reported that they were sexually harassed. Yet, most chose to stay silent about it as they need the money to send back home as remittance to raise their families. On the other hand, there are some interesting findings about wage inequality and limited job mobility. Domestic helpers who are high school graduates have much lower monthly wages than those in Hong Kong, yet the salary is still higher than their home country. And some can only work as domestic helper in Hong Kong but not the other jobs, depending on their agency.
My education is high school. Only work in domestic helper. Indonesia is less, but not so much. I'm better come to Hong Kong to have more money.
With the current situation explained, there are two standings towards whether changes should be made. The group that calls for change wants the current situation of domestic helpers to be improved because they believe that every worker, regardless of their occupation, deserves fair treatment. For instance, giving dignified working conditions, decent wages, and equal protection under the law of domestic helpers. This group usually comprises passionate advocates who work to improve the rights and welfare of domestic helpers.
都係人嚟㗎嘛，
工人姐姐都係好多㗎嘛，喺香港嘅話，咁都係一個大嘅人群，咁都應該要照顧到佢哋。
The group against changes to be made believes that a salary with a minimum of Hong Kong dollar 4,870 per month is sufficient pay, and that domestic helpers receive enough economic benefits since compared to their home countries, the salary they receive in Hong Kong is high. This is evident as 67% of employers on the Helper Choice platform consider the salaries for domestic helpers as reasonable.
I think the domestic helpers are fairly paid in Hong Kong. The pay level in Hong Kong is still attractive to domestic workers from Philippines and Indonesia.
No matter what the reasons are behind the two viewpoints, the fact remains that the inequalities involved should be alleviated. To work towards the ultimate goal of reducing inequality, improving the treatment, rights, and opportunities for domestic helpers is essential. This will not only benefit them, but also contribute to the overall well-being and prosperity of the city as a whole. The first step is to shift societal attitudes and perceptions toward domestic helpers. This reduces stereotypes, dispels misconceptions, and fosters understanding, inclusiveness, and empathy in this diverse society. The second step is to improve the treatment and welfare of domestic helpers. This enables them to live a better life and be treated equally. The first step is to protect domestic helpers' rights and opportunities. This allows them to have a chance to speak up and protect themselves from injustice.
So what actions can different stakeholders take? Firstly, the domestic helpers need to take the initiative to engage in society. Building mutual trust and being honest with employers are the key to building a good relationship between the employers and employees.
我覺得完全信任就有少難度，對佢哋嘅行為都有少少保留，因為始終未必太熟悉佢哋啦。平時打掃屋企啊，或者可能執頭執尾，其實都會有即係都要一定有信任嘅。
Secondly, it's up to the government. Under the Sex Discrimination Ordinance, SDO, sexual harassment of an employee by an employer is unlawful. However, 64% of respondents in the survey by EOC mentioned that they did not receive any information about anti-harassment. As a result, they lacked knowledge and support to address such situations. Therefore, the government should raise awareness about the illegality of sexual harassment and abuse of domestic helpers. This would not only get the attention of domestic helpers, but also employers and locals. Moreover, stricter policies and regulations should be implemented for better treatment of domestic helpers. For instance, mandating employers to provide a food allowance of no less than $1,236 per month. In order to enhance the protection of domestic helpers' rights, the government can institute stricter consequences for law violations. The government can also make use of the media to create a positive image of domestic helpers.
Thirdly, NGOs and community groups can proactively engage with domestic helpers on a regular basis to prevent instances of abuse. Workshops and support groups allow helpers to build support networks. This gives them a backing and makes them less afraid to seek justice. It is also important for individuals to actively advocate for fair treatment of domestic helpers and actively oppose any illegal activities related to their employment. Last but not least, educating the public can help them understand the concept of equal treatment. Education will help the public realize the value of females and that sexual harassment or abuse is immoral. The government can incorporate the issue of inequality in Hong Kong into the school curriculum. With education, the public will understand that without domestic helpers, Hong Kong would not be as developed as it is today. Women would find it a great challenge to enter the workforce if there is no one to help out with the maintenance of their homes. Domestic helpers should receive comprehensive education about their rights and legal protections to empower them as they gain the ability to demand the respect and dignity they deserve. This can be achieved through workshops, online resources, and televised broadcasts. By transforming public attitudes and perceptions towards domestic helpers, we can foster greater social integration of domestic helpers within Hong Kong society.